Hello there, welcome back to my channel. My name is David and I'm known on the internet as Unity Freedom. So today we will continue on to talk about the Eightfold Path. And today's topic is about right livelihood. So without further ado, we'll jump right in and I'll talk more about livelihood after this short introduction. Hi, welcome back. So today's topic, in continuation of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, is livelihood. And traditionally, livelihood is described as being what is the best job or the right job to be a Buddhist. But if you're not a Buddhist, just a normal person, you'll think about what would be the best job as a spiritual person. And that has been a question that has plagued a number of people, including myself. Because when the Buddha says the right livelihood, of course there are certain jobs that are good for your spiritual growth, and there are certain jobs that are not helpful for your spiritual growth. And just like I talked about the right action and the wrong action, there are right jobs and there are wrong jobs. For example, if you're stealing something from someone or you're trying to scam someone, obviously common sense will tell you that's not the right job. That would not be helpful for your spiritual growth. But if you look at a job by itself, what does a job provide you? Well, for one thing, it provides you with an income. So when you get a job with an employer, your employer pays you a certain amount of dollars in exchange for your labor. So whenever you think about a livelihood, you think about making a living. And then in this day and age, we have a lot of obligations, such as paying bills, paying rent, if you don't own a home. If you do own a home, pay your mortgage and your car loans and student loans. And if you have a family, you pay for your kids and you would save up for your kids' college tuitions. There are a number of things that requires money. And of course, in order for you to have those, to provide the income for your family, or for yourself, you need a job. So in the past, before I became spiritual or walked the spiritual path, I didn't have the concept of right livelihood and wrong livelihood. But I do have, even when I was young, I do have a sense of the ability to sense vibration, to sense energy, that I know if I do certain things and it helps me maintain or raise my vibration, I will do those things. But then I have this sense of vibration if I do something that's not conducive to raising my energy, but instead lower my energies, such as watching porno, which when I was younger, I used to do that because I didn't know better. I'm sure that a lot of people today are watching porno, people having sex. But does it raise your energy or does it lower your energy? And I think that you would agree that when you're watching those things, it gets you really high physically, it gets you aroused, but at the end of the day, you felt somewhat drained and you lose energy. And also, if you're around certain people, negative people, who talk down to you, who blame you, who judge you, who put you down, who doesn't care about you, you feel also that there is a sense of energy drain coming from them too. So if you come to think of the world is made up of energy of a certain vibration, then everything in the world is made up of energy of a certain vibration. And if you think about that, money is also a form of energy. And in order to make money, we have to create some form of livelihood, to exchange our labor with money. But as I said before, when I was younger, I have this sense of, or this ability to discern vibrations. There are good high vibrations, there are not so good low vibrations. And I was good enough to sense, when I was younger, I remember I was looking for a job, I was looking for employers, and at the time when I was young, they were looking, for someone who wants to work part-time or full-time. They don't pay you much, but I was selective in which employer I actually choose to work with. And I couldn't understand why that I would choose certain employers, or I was led and guided to work with certain employers, and they're all meant to help me overcome certain reluctance to work for these people. And every time that I work for these people, I would have this sense that their vibration is not that high. And they actually will influence you to actually lower your vibrations. And so I was thinking, okay, why were they able to influence me to lower my vibrations? It's because they were sending an impulse of low vibration energies towards me as an employee to try to control me to work based on their expectations and their rules and their way of doing things. And I wasn't used to that when I was young and I started out working. And I didn't have any working experience. So I thought, okay, I just do exactly what they want me to do. But there is this sense of self in me that has a sense of fear that I have to obey my employer. The energy was negative and it goes right into me and it interacts with my psychology that causes me to react a certain way, to be obedient to my boss. Because at the time I was working for the Japanese. And the Japanese had a certain way of working, obedience. As a team, you must be obedient. You must follow our rules. You cannot be independent. You cannot have self-expression. You must be obedient. And I have this reaction that I felt that I must be obedient. Even one time that, I was working as a technician and I didn't have anything to do. I did all my work and I was free. My boss was telling me, well, since you're free, go clean up the washroom. And I was obediently accepting or fulfilling that command. While my colleague was looking at me and said, why are you doing this? You're a technician. You're not supposed to go out there and your boss tells you to clean the toilet because that's not your scope of practice. But I reacted. To what he told me. It felt like a threat. If I don't do what he said, I might lose my job. So it was this kind of dynamic that I have with my boss, that I felt I need to be obedient. Yes, sir. Yes, I do this. Yes, I do that. I was obedient. I didn't question why I shouldn't be doing this because, hey, at least my colleague was looking at me. He's like, David, you're always so obedient. Your boss tells you to do this and do that, but you don't have to do those things because it's not your job. Your job is in technical. So you don't have to go out and clean up the toilet because you're free. Yes, you finish your work, so you have a break, but you're not obligated to use your free time or your break time to clean the toilet. And I tell you, I was young, I was naive, I didn't know I have rights. Hey, you work for certain hours, you have a 15-minute break. But at the time I was naive, I felt threatened. If I don't do what my boss told me to do, even though I have the right to take a break for 15 minutes, a coffee break, I did what he asked. And my friend, my colleague, my workmate was telling me, you're stupid to be abused and exploited this way. But I didn't know better. Because I was looking at my job as a means to make money. And I need that money to pay off my student loan, to pay off my bills. When I need to eat, I need to pay rent. So I didn't think about, what about my rights? What about my rights as a worker? And so, in terms of a livelihood, I thought, hey, this is not the right livelihood because it felt like I was exploited. I felt like my guidance that led me to work for this company and work for this employer, it felt like I was being exploited. It felt like I was being controlled by this boss. So I was wondering myself, yes, it pays me well, it pays me and it pays the bills, but what is it that he could control me and yet my boss could not control my coworker when he's paid the same as me because he has the same expertise, technical expertise as me. So why he isn't compliance as opposed to me? So it got me thinking. So it couldn't be the money. Why am I obeying him? Why every time he speaks, I felt like I need to obey him. I need to be obedient to him. And it got me thinking, maybe I wasn't actually my livelihood. I wasn't actually afraid of him because of money. Because as a technical person, I can quit the job and find another job. But I felt like I needed to be with him. My inner guidance, my inner self told me I have to be with him. There is a certain lesson I need to learn from him that I had been evading for a very, very long time. And that is, I was afraid of authority. I was afraid of him because he's my boss. Even though he's older than me, his technical expertise wasn't as good as me. I know more about computers. He doesn't know anything about computers. He only knows mechanical things. But because we were going into the computer age, they hired me because I have computer skills and mechanical skills. So the only thing I was afraid of him is because he's my boss. He's my supervisor. But he was able to control me, and yet he wasn't able to control my friend. When I requested to take a vacation, I filed in my vacation for 2 weeks, and then my boss denied it. But I said, okay, you denied the vacation. Okay, I'll be a good boy. I'm not going to question. But then I saw my colleague. He filed for a 2-week vacation. And then he got denied too, because it was the busiest time of the year. But then he told the boss, you know what, if you're not giving me that 2 weeks of vacation with me and my wife, I'm quitting. And as he said that, the boss caved in and gave him that 2 weeks. And he continued to be employed for another couple of years before the company shut down. But I was feeling, why? Why could he manage to overcome the fear of my boss' authority? He just said, right, if you don't give me that 2 weeks vacation, I'm splitting, I'm quitting. And he could, because there's not a company that could have taken him, because he has good, capable technical skills. But he knew that. He knew his worth, his self-worth. I did not, or not yet, that is. I did not know my self-worth. I only know that I'm just an employee with no rights, even though I live in the democratic country in Canada that have rights, employee rights. So it took me a while to really find out what is the right livelihood. Well, the right livelihood is a livelihood that allows you to have self-empowerment. You empower yourself, not to make money. That would be a good thing also, but also empower you not to be fearful of the projected negative energy from your employer or from your client. Because you think about it, if you're going and taking and making a living, of course we'll look at making a living as being making money in dollars. What if we change that idea and we frame it that, are you really making money, or are you increasing your level of energy by being mindful that you don't have to be exploited? That if you sense fear energy coming from your employer, you don't have to react. You can be who you are. You know your self-worth. If you are who you are and you have that self-worth, your employer knows it. The only weapon that they have is to threaten you. It is to give you and projects to you the negative energy. And then see if you react. If you react by obeying, by caving in to the employer's demands, then they know they can control you. That's how my boss was able to control me, because he was testing me and he was testing my colleague, us, because we both came in at the same time. We were both hired at the same time. But as time goes on, he was testing also my colleague and my friend, and he could not control my friend. He could control me, but cannot control my friend. And the hardest thing to accept was I found out that after the company closed, that he was actually making more money than I did. And why? Because he negotiated his salary behind closed doors. I would accept a 1%, 2% raise. He would demand a 4 to 5% raise because he knew his worth. And I did not. Because I reacted to the negative energy that he was sending, the employer was sending to me. That my boss was projecting it to me. So I was reacting and reacting and reacting to my boss' projection of the fear energy. And I was reacting to the fear energy. So he was able to control me. And I was not willing or afraid to ask for a higher raise. Compared to my friend who, he said, take it or leave it. If you don't want me, I'll just go somewhere else. And he was able to get more raises, higher raises than I did. So my friend was able to gain more than I did. So I was wondering, why didn't I ask? I mean, I have even higher technical skills than he did. So actually my self-worth, my worth to the company is actually more than my friend. But he was able to negotiate more benefits and higher raises. And I was willing to just roll with the punches. Whatever raises they gave me, whatever benefits they gave me, I just took it. Because I just didn't want to have any confrontation with my boss. Because I was reacting to this fear energy. And so it got me thinking, why was I reacting to this energy? And if you come to think of it, was it really about making money? Or was it really about the right livelihood? It's about working in a position, working in a place where it can actually help you overcome a certain fear psychology, a certain unresolved psychology, and overcome and resolve the karma with a certain person because that person was controlling you. And that person couldn't control the other person, which was my friend. So if you take out the dollars in right livelihood and replace it with energy, the right livelihood is a livelihood that can help you potentially raise your level of consciousness to overcome the fear of a certain psychology. And what happens when you overcome the fear of a certain psychology? You actually raise your vibration, because now the fear psychology is gone. You are not fearful or what this person has to say, you can be bold. If you know your self-worth, and if you know that you deserve that kind of compensation, you can ask for it. But also, the right livelihood allows you to serve others. And you can even sense, if you're working in a job and you're helping others, you serve others, and if you're serving others, there is an energy feedback that gives you the feedback that it feels good. There's that sense of positive energy that you're not only helping yourself, but you're serving others. But if you're really selfish, only serving yourself because you're thinking, no, I'm not going to I don't need to waste my energy, I'm going to make more money, then does it help you raise your vibration? If all you think about is only to serve yourself, to only make lots and lots of money? So the right livelihood is a process for you to help raise your vibration. And the only way to raise your vibration is to resolve your psychology. Any unresolved psychology and trauma that reduces the light and reduces your potential to co-create more, to manifest more things, to be more. The right livelihood is a livelihood that can give you that potential to expose any unresolved psychology that you have with someone else or you have with other people, and also in return make some money, pay your bills, pay your mortgage, pay your rent. So instead of like thinking about, many spiritual people think about, oh, the right livelihood is not to do these certain jobs, especially jobs that make lots of money, or jobs that will make you rich. When I heard that, I didn't agree with that. I said, why would you put yourself in or box yourself in such a situation that limits your potential to be more? If you have the potential to create a computer application or a phone app that can help millions of people simplify their lives, and in return, not only you help millions of people simplify their life, but also it can help you make some money, what's wrong with that? You're helping to serve the whole. But also you can even sense it in yourself that you have done a great deed, that you have served the whole by creating a technology that simplify and empower people who would otherwise don't have that access to technology to better themselves, and you allowed that to happen. And this is how I think right livelihood is, that you find and you're guided to do a certain or create a certain product, a certain service, work in a certain field to help people. But by helping people, you are helping yourself, and you are helping raise their vibration, their energy, and then in turn it helps you multiply your own energy. So you're actually helping yourself by helping others. But the vibration by helping others in a positive way will help you multiply the vibration of your own. Whereas when you're fearful to express yourself, like when I was with my boss, I was fearful to express myself. I basically served myself. I was afraid. I was trying to serve myself, trying to preserve what I have. I didn't want to exercise my creativity. And in fact, in the years to come, I grew up more of a sense of bravery to overcome. Say, this is not right. Why is my colleague getting more benefits than I did? So I decided, no, I also have the ability, technical ability, to express myself, to express my talents. And so I did. And gradually, slowly, year by year, I expressed my technical expertise. I actually help the company design better things, simplify the technical training, become more efficient, and in doing so, I'm actually helping other technicians become better at doing their job. And as I became more and more capable, the company realized my capabilities, my talents, and they actually sent me to Japan for training because they realized that my boss, when he went to Japan, he didn't give all the information to us. He kept some of that because he was afraid that if he shared all the technical information to us, he was afraid that he would lose his job. He would lose his manager job. But he was old. He was trying to save his job. And he was using this fear energy to try to control me because he actually was fearful that I was better than him. And he was right. But then he realized that, as I found out when I was in Japan, I realized and I complained to the Japanese manager in Japan, hey, why is this all this technical information was not available to us? And apparently he kept it hidden for 8 years. And only then when I was in Japan, I found out about the information that was kept hidden from us for 8 years. And I brought it back. I complained to our regional and national manager about it, and he didn't realize that those technical information was necessary to help other technicians do their job properly, not suffering, because if you don't have this information, you just couldn't perform your job properly at the full capacity of your training. And so when I brought back the technology, the knowledge, I shared it, I trained other technicians, and they were grateful. But I could only do that because I grew, I guess what you call it, a set of spine. That I wasn't fearful from him anymore because I knew my self-worth. I knew I could do this. And so I remember that I grew more and more and more confident. And I also realized that I grew less and less and less fearful. I become less fearful to speak publicly, because when I train technicians, I have to speak publicly to a lot of technicians for training purposes. I grew less and less fearful, and I grew more and more confident on my abilities. And I noticed in myself that that sense of energy is rising higher, 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 because I built up more and more and more and more confidence of myself. I was less fearful until one day my boss simply couldn't control me anymore. But also I noticed that he was sick. He was getting sicker and sicker and sicker because he got cancer. And so the position was then transferred to me. I became basically the assistant manager for the whole department. And I never realized that I could do that until I realized that it was working on myself. I already have all the talents and the knowledge and the expertise and the capability. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do public speaking, training people, having all the knowledge, able to learn the knowledge, learn the technical expertise, and be able to disseminate the information easily that all the other technicians could easily understand. And I had all that. It was in me. It was all in me already. It's already and built. The only stumbling block that kept me from fully realizing my talents for the past 10 years while working in the company was my fear, was my unresolved psychologies, the trauma that I had with him. And that trauma kept me from being the more that I am, being capable of being more. Now I see it today, everybody, even I work in the IT department now with other colleagues, I can see almost a similar trend with certain people, that they have this gift, this capacity to be more. But every time you look at them, they're always like very scrunched and very passive. It's almost like you can see the energy, like I could see the energy collapsing. It feels like they're so fearful. They don't really realize what they're capable of. Even though they're in that position, in that job, that livelihood that can help them be more. But instead, all they think about is, oh, I don't have enough money. Oh, I'm not making enough money. Or they're not giving me more money. But they don't realize that it only takes a few steps, higher action, higher understanding, higher intention, to overcome the psychology that kept you in the shell. Like for 10 years, what was limiting my potential to be more? It was certain unresolved psychology. And I had to reframe myself when I was working. I'm not here to make lots of dollars. I'm here to overcome a certain unresolved psychology that limits my potential to be more in that job. Because if you're guided to that job, there is something in the job that limits you, your potential to be more in that job. Otherwise, you wouldn't be guided to working that job. Otherwise, you wouldn't be guided to working with these people. If you always sit on a desk and you felt, oh, I feel threatened because, oh, these people are just putting me down, I feel threatened, I don't want to say anything, I will just keep myself quiet. But as long as you keep yourself quiet, how else other people know how talented you are? Nobody will know you're talented if you keep yourself quiet. You don't want to ruffle any feathers because of that fear energy that other people are projecting onto you, hoping you don't grow out of your shell and express yourself, your talents, that you are more than them. They're just projecting fear energy to you, and you're reacting and reacting and reacting to the energies, and you could never exercise your full potential to be more. Sometimes you are investing in a certain property and you lost a lot of money, maybe $10,000, $100,000. But you think about it, Is it because of money that you're losing? Or is it because something in you that causes you to have certain failures in your life, that you could not fully realize your full potential? That you know in your heart, in your mind, you can do more, you can be more, but something is sabotaging you. Something in you that is sabotaging your full potential. So if you reframe yourself and look at livelihood, not as a way of making money or lots of money, or this is not a good job for you because it makes lots of money, but you frame it as being, this is my opportunity to raise my vibration, to allow more light to flow through me. Well, what does it need for me to allow the light to flow through me so that I can realize my full potential? You know what happens when you allow your light to flow through you more? You can manifest more. You bring in more light from the outside, not what is available right here on earth, but you bring more light from the outside. You can co-create more things. The only thing that I realized in the past was that it's not because I couldn't co-create things, because I didn't have the ability, and that was caused by the fear that I didn't have the ability to co-create more or be more. And then I was put down, of course, by other people so that I don't have to be more. I just keep a sense of equilibrium, don't ruffle under any other people's feathers, and then just keep my mouth shut. But when you co-create something new, you need more of that energy, the light from outside. But you cannot bring that light until you overcome that sense of limitation, the sense of lack, the sense that you cannot do more. So if you look at it this way, that a certain livelihood can help you be more. Because when I left that company and worked in healthcare as a nurse, one of the things that I looked at that particular livelihood was, what could that livelihood bring me more? What could that, or being and helping someone change diapers, administer medication, bathe, all these things. I was making pretty good money working in technology. Why would this kind of livelihood bring me? I was making actually less money than I was working in technology. But I chose that livelihood not because of money. I chose that livelihood because I can have the potential to raise my energy higher by serving the whole. Because I was working with a lot of patients, and I was working with a lot of other nurses, female nurses. I remember when I first came into the care home to work, other female nurses look at me and say, "Oh, David, you're a man. You're gonna be lousy as a nurturer. Only women can nurture. Men, not so good." But in the end, when I left the care facility to pursue my IT work, the nurse that said that, he came to apologize me. He told me, "David, I was wrong to assume that you couldn't nurture people. You couldn't nurture the patients. We looked at you. We were so impressed that you have that kindness, that careness. Every time you approach someone, you are the light. You're the bright light, the shining light that bring hope, and bring them the sense of joy that even it's at the end of days for them, there is a brighter future for them as they leave their body. I brought that light to them. I didn't know what was the purpose for me to work in that capacity in a hospital, in a care home. But then I realized the feedback I got from other nurses, it was the sense of joy and hope. It was not destitute. It's not like if you're ready to die. For many patients at work, it's like a blank darkness when you die. No, it's light at the end of the tunnel. When there is darkness, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. And I was that light. And I realized that I could do that. And that it was the livelihood too, that it's not a job for you to make lots of money. It's the job for you to help raise your vibration so you can be the example for others to follow or for others to look up to. If others are down, if others are in a sense of lack and fear, you're projecting that light because now you have more light. You're like the beaming light, like a stadium with huge floodlights beaming down on the field that was dark without the lights. And you're that person that beams down. And you can do that. What is the amount of money? Is pale in comparison of how you can help yourself raise your vibration so you can be the beaming light. And if that livelihood can help you with that, then you don't care about how much you make. As long as you make enough to pay your rent, to pay your bills, to raise your family, and to have something left to enjoy for yourself. When you're working in the right livelihood to raise yourself and you raise your vibration, you will have enough. That's what I found out. I will have enough. Enough even in this inflationary environment to live, to have a comfortable retirement. Because you're serving God. As long as serving your higher self, your higher self has certain desires to fulfill. And these desires are defined in your divine plan. And if you're in the livelihood and in tune with your higher self, your higher self will provide all you need because it needs to fulfill those desires. It will guide you to the right livelihood, not only to make enough money to pay the bills, but also to have the potential to raise yourself, your vibrations, to fully realize your fullest potential. That's what I felt now the right livelihood is. The right livelihood is the potential for me first to help raise my vibration, raise the energy of myself by overcoming the negative energies, the negative reactions that I react to because of unresolved psychology, and then to allow me to be more, to co-create more, to be nimble, to be creative, to be resourceful. I know some of you, when you're listening to this, some of you are really creative, just like me. Very creative. You have ideas in your mind how to make money. But there is something in you that's keeping you out of that reach. You have some ideas, but it's in the mind. Unless you execute those ideas, it's only in the mind. That's not going to be realized to the fullest potential. But if you come to think that right livelihood is, if it's in the mind, just realize it. And then see if it can help you raise your vibration, by bringing more light. If your ideas help serve the whole, and the whole will serve yourself back, the livelihood, the right livelihood, or the high livelihood, not only help you raise the energy of yourself, but also, since money is energy, it will help sustain you in that particular livelihood to maintain your body and to maintain your living, the cost of living, if you have family, the cost of raising your child, or any other pursuits that you have. If you like to go out hiking, traveling, you have that too. You have some money left to enjoy yourself, to reward yourself for what you did for the whole. There's always something left for you. But if you feel that everything is just not going your way, think about it. Why are you losing money? Why are you seem short of money? You don't have the money to pay the bills. You don't have money to fix your car. You don't have money to go on vacation. You don't have this, you don't have that. Have you ever think about it because you are limiting yourself to a certain livelihood, to a certain lifestyle that does not help you raise yourself, your vibration? I know it's very easy to just stay put, stay in that state of equilibrium. Don't ruffle the feathers. It's very easy to just stay at your current situation and not resolve anything and just hope that things will just muddle through. But you will know that as you try to muddle through, you seem to lose more and more of that ability to live a good life. But you need not do that. You need not suffer through that. Because if you tap into yourself within you, the inner self, the Christ self, the baby Christ, your higher self, it has the plan for you. It has the guidance to put you on the right track. It gives you the guidance if you're willing to listen. To raise your vibration by taking advantage of the livelihood that you're in. Any livelihood that you're in has the potential to be more. Only if you're willing to tap into what is causing you, what is limiting you to be less. And then reframe yourself to say, what is it that I can be more and do more? And try it out. There is no limitations that you have that you couldn't be more. You can be more. But you need to look at yourself. What is limiting you from inside yourself? What is making you refuse guidance from your inner self, from your higher self? And what is refusing you to accept the guidance from your higher self? Because in the next 5 to 12 years, more and more of our ability to be more comes from our connection to our higher self. And this is going to be, if you want to be more, and you want to overcome the next 12 years, you have to make a choice to connect to your higher self and then accept the guidance from your higher self and overcome any limitations that you have. That is your livelihood. Because you're working for yourself. And yes, you're not making money even though you're doing this, but you're helping yourself raise the energy. And that's the most important thing about livelihood. It's not about making money. It's not about making a reputation. It's not about trying to boast yourself on YouTube or your work. Oh, this is, I'm a manager, this and that. Oh, this is the right livelihood. The right livelihood is an opportunity for you to raise your vibration, to raise your consciousness, thus allowing more light to flow through you. And then you can create more. I hope that the talk, hopefully not too long, for you to listen to. But if it helps you, I'm grateful for you that you have stayed this long to listen to what I have to say about right livelihood, because I really like to share this with all of you, that all of you have the potential to be more. You create your potential by reframing yourself and looking at livelihood as being your livelihood, your just a way of you to help yourself raise the energy in you, so that when you make choices to raise your level of energy, then other people cannot control you anymore, because other people can only control you using negative energy. And you're reacting to negative energies, and then you're under their control. And you cannot exercise your own potential livelihood, your higher livelihood. By you making choices to work on yourself, to work on your psychology, by raising your vibration, not thinking about making lots of money, that will come as you raise your consciousness and thus bring more light. Your energy level goes up, you have more to create. And money, making money is the after effect of you realizing your full potential of your livelihood. Instead of you chasing money, trying to gamble on the stock market, trying to gamble on the real estate, trying to make money off of money, you know, you don't have to do a lot of work. You don't have to raise your level of consciousness. You don't have to do raise your vibrations. All you have to do is speculate on this real estate, speculate on that business, or just sit down and relax. That is a livelihood that won't go very far. It won't help you raise your energy. It just reinforces the negative vibration, negative energy vibrations by you reacting, by you wanting to make more money, by reacting to negative energies, and then eventually you'll lose the money that you have by investing in something that will lose a lot of value. Instead, if you reframe yourself, you look at this as being a potential for you to raise your vibration, to raise your level of consciousness. By treating this as a livelihood for you to better yourself. Okay, so this is all I have to say. I hope that this helped you. And as usual, please subscribe to my channel if you find it useful. I have many other topics I'd like to share in the coming future. And then in my next topic, on the Buddha's Eightfold Path, I'll talk about higher effort. Okay, thank you very much for listening to my channel and listening to my talk. I hope you have a great day. And this is David saying goodbye.